Okay, I'm sorry, I'm on YouTube and all. Now, see, we understood the basic logic behind an access control list. Okay, now how this is going to be created properly, let's say. Now, traditionally in PICS, of course, we can start creating and referring the IP addresses on the rules directly. When you're working with a command line interface, you can refer the source as an IP address or the network destination as an IP address or the address. You can do that. You can do that one while you're creating the rules. But Cisco started recommending that while you're working with the rules, start identify the sources and destinations first before you call them inside the rules. What I mean to say that you have to create the objects. So the source can be an object, destination can be an object, service can be an object. So the objects are used to refer the host or the subnets or the networks. I'll show you that. See, if you wanted to do this one, you can have something called as what object. We how many types of objects we have network object, we also have service object. So network object helps us to create the network. I'm sorry, it is shared, ma. How about the others? Can you see my screen? Who's having problem? Prashant, probably you disconnect and reconnect once again. Now I'll wait for you to rejoin. Prashant, can you see that? Can you see the screen now? Okay, right. So, what is that recommended is even before you started referring these IP addresses or the networks, it is recommended to create them as an object within your Cisco ASA, then calling them inside the rules wherever you want, whether the object can be referred in source or the destinations or in the service, you can do that one, right? So, first of all, you have to start creating the objects through the help of a keyword called as objects. Earlier, we used to have a separate keyword called as object group. Anyway, so now we have something called as object network. So within that, you will be able to create the objects, right? Can you see that? I'm sorry, I think. See what are the types of objects? I can say this is going to be my internal host. Once I enter, I'll be able to start identifying the individual host over here. See here, network object, I can say it can be a host 10.1.1.10, right? I can also refer the network if I want, or if I wanted to refer a subnet, I can do that one. You understand what I'm saying? So you create these objects first, and these objects can be referred inside your policies. So instead of configuring them using the CLI, let me show you how these objects are going to be configured using your ASDM, because you have to be familiar with both. Let me refresh the ASDM now. Is that visible? I just shared the ASDM. Okay. See here, these things, even though I have not created, did I create 10.1.1.0, 1.1.1.1, 10.1.1.10? I did not. So I started referring these individual addresses in my CLI. Automatically, the respective objects got created in your ASA. See here, I just edit this one. See, this is a host. I can give a name for this if I want. Host A. I can create it. So this will be so simple, right? Host A. I just created this one. Now the thing is, you remember on day 1 or day 2, I asked a question, what is the meaning of any? you have any v4, any v6, and I say any, which means what? Any IPv4 or IPv6. That's the meaning of it. Okay. Anyway, now I just created an internal host using my CLI. You can also see that object here. I also have one more host object which has been created from the IP addresses referred inside your rule. So if I have to create an object, all I have to do is what? A network object. I can create it as what? It is going to be my VLAN 10. Now I'll say this is not going to be an individual host. I'm going to be configuring this as a network, and this network will have my internal network with the subnet mask of 255.255.0.0. Okay. Now always also keep certain informations while you're creating the objects, like host A, give the host IP address as well as part of your name. So in that way, when you see the object, you will be able to understand what IP address you are referring on the object, right? So, and also don't conclude that. Sometimes what happens internally, you would have given 10.1.1.100, but on your name you would have given 10.1.1.10. So just by seeing the name, don't conclude that that will be the original IP address. But how do I know what IP address I have associated with the object? You can hover your mouse on the object. You can see the name is host A underscore 10.1.1.10, but the internal reference is going to be an individual IP, which is 10.1.1.100. So keep in mind the names are different, whereas the internal identification could be different. So just by seeing the name, don't conclude anything and don't confirm anything. Okay. So first of all, create the objects according to your requirement. Let's take a case. We wanted to have internet access for 3 internal hosts. Let's say host A. Then I also wanted to create the other objects for host B 10.1.1.20. It is 10.1.1.20. Then I also wanted to create one more network object for internal host C 10.1.1.30. It is an host object 10.1.1.30. So what are all the options I have while I'm creating the network object? I have a host object, I also have range, I also have network, I also have fully qualified domain name. So whenever you're using a fully qualified domain name, make sure that your ASA has been configured with the right DNS server to resolve the given name into an IP address. If you don't have the DNS server configured, then there is no point in identifying the host using the fully qualified domain name. So in my case, I'm just using an individual host. I'm also planning to modify my host A, which is 10.1. I want to have internet access for them. Okay, but one more thing you remember, under the address objects, I'm creating the address services. There are certain predefined services available, and these services have been created by Cisco for you and widely used services. Apart from that, if you wanted to have some specific services, I can create a TCP service or UDP service or TCP UDP both, then ICMP group, or it can also be a protocol. So whatever the type of service you want, you can refer them. So we have created the objects which we wanted to refer them inside the rule we are going to be working with. Now let me I don't know why it is coming up like this. Okay. Now what is that I want? I just wanted to create a rule, but notice that there is a rule which is saying that it's a global policy. It's a global policy. It is saying that what? Deny inspection default, match is going to be any, source is any, destination is any. You notice that the service is also default inspection. This is the policy I'm seeing it, but this is a service policy rule. I'm not talking about the service policy. We have to talk about the access rule, and these are all the rules we have created. How we have the service policy is a different policy, while we were talking about the modular policy framework and additional inspections with respect to HTTP or any of the application. We'll get into that. Anyway, we have a discussion on that. According to our syllabus, we have that one. Now today's focus is only on the access control list, right? It's an access rule. You can notice that the rules what we have created using your CLI is also getting reflected over here. Okay, now what we want, you can see that the rule, we have 5 different rules associated to an inside interface. See, 5 incoming rules for the inside interface. Now if you wanted to rearrange them, yes, I can do that, but you don't need to worry about deleting and then recreating the rule at the specific place. Instead, I have the option of, what is that? Can you see that? Move up, or I can also cut and paste it. Wherever I want, I can do that one. See here, there are certain rules on each and every interfaces. The outside interface, implicit incoming rules, only one is there, which is a deny all. And you also have a global implicit rule, source is any, destination is any, and it is also denied. Now the significance of knowing about the rules which is associated to each and every interface, the moment a rule is associated to an interface, according to that the traffic is going to be, according to that, any traffic is going to be permitted or denied. What I mean to say is, if I say I have an access control list associated to an interface, okay? Now any traffic is received on this interface, the traffic will be permitted or denied according to the access list associated to this. There is also one point, right? I can have a deny rule at the end of the rules whatever I'm creating, or I can also create a permit all rule at the end of any of the rule bases that I create. See what I mean to say, see here, there is a default rule section for the DMZ. In DMZ interface, we have one implicit incoming rule. If you go and check it out, source is any, destination is any, and the service is all IP packet which has been permitted. Any less security level, you see this one, source is any, destination is any less secure network, okay? Then the traffic is going to be permitted. So the DMZ security level is 50. From that interface to any of the interface with a lower security level, all IP traffic is going to be permitted. Now let's create a new rule, add access rule. Now on which of the interface we are going to be binding? On DMZ interface. The action is going to be permit and saying what source is going to be my internal network. Let it be any, because the DMZ interface is connected to a single network. Now the destination is going to be my outside router's IP address, okay? This is what I have chosen. Maybe my, okay, so okay. Now the service is permitted, say okay. Now I created the rule. Now see what happened to the implicit rule. Earlier I had one implicit deny rule, you remember? Earlier I had one implicit deny rule which says that any source to any interface with lower security level, all IP traffic were permitted. You remember? That's what the rule we have seen earlier. Now after deleting this rule, that rule is coming up. So the significance of knowing about the security levels and permitting or denying the traffic based on that is lost when you apply an access control list to an interface. Now there is a question now, what is that? If the traffic is, we started creating the rules on the DMZ interface and no traffic is matching, we don't have an explicit rule to deny the traffic. Because of that, the traffic is going to be denied. Am I right? That's what the understanding as of today we have it. Now you also need to understand there is a section called as a global section. Now what this global section says, if you have associated an access control list to an interface, okay, when there is no access list, global is not having any visibility on it. My point here is, I have an access list associated to an interface. No traffic is matched against the configured rules on that interface. Now I will go and check the global rule also. Whatever the rules you apply on the global section is applicable to all of the interfaces when you have an access list associated to it. You understand what I'm saying? See here. Now on the outside there is no traffic rules, there is no implicit rules. Then how come the traffic is denied from external to DMZ or external to, what is that called, my internal network? Because no rules are matching, automatically the global rule comes into picture which says that any, what is the condition? any IP traffic, deny it. It is an implicit rule. Now, for example, let me say under the global section, I'll add a rule. The interface is on any, source is any, destination is any. Now, I'm just going to be permitting only the telnet. Okay. Oh, sorry. I just need to choose it. Right? I said telnet. Now I apply this one. Right, now what happened? The rule whatever I have created has been positioned on top of this implicit rule. You see that? So what happened if you receive any traffic? Now that's the significance of outside and DMZ gone. Have you seen that? Earlier we had two sections. What is that? DMZ interface, there was an implicit rule. Now we have another, we had one more implicit rule. In the rule section, one is called as an outside. So earlier I had couple of rules or implicit rules, even though I haven't configured any of the rules associated to that interface. See, in DMZ section I have couple of rules. You remember? Not couple of rules. One rule was there. Source is any, destination is any less secure interface, traffic was permitted. This rule was there. You remember? Same way on the outside interface, source is any, destination is any, or any higher security level, the traffic should be denied, but the rule was not there, but still the traffic was dropped. That was because of the global rule. You remember? Guys, please confirm me that you are following me up. See, when there is no rules associated, we had security level based inspection. The moment I apply an access control list, the significance of permitting or denying the traffic according to the security levels gone. Only on that interface, not for the other interfaces. Now, what on the DMZ interface, I had only one rule which says that source is any, destination is less security level interface, traffic is permitted. This is the rule we have seen. Whereas on the outside interface, there was no rule, but still no traffic from that to DMZ or internal was permitted. When there is no rule, automatically it will fall into the global section. If no traffic is matching against the configured interface policy, it will go to the global section. According to the global section, we have one implicit deny which says that source is any, destination is any, and then traffic is going to be any IP packet is denied. This is the rule we have seen. Now, the moment I add one rule over there on the global rule section, the access control list associated to the DMZ, which is any to the less security level, is gone. Same way, there was a representation for outside interface that is also gone. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that clear? Earlier we had this. Okay, let me delete this rule. Okay, check it out. What all the sections are coming up? Do you see this? There is a DMZ section. There is an outside section. There is also global section. Now, the moment I add a new rule under the any section, any, then instead of the TCP 23, or I can simply type telnet. Okay, so telnet, then say okay. The moment I do this one, notice that the DMZ interface binding and outside is also gone. So let me see, I have done these changes. Do you think that you will be having any effect on it? Okay, let's go to, what is it called? My external router. Now, after I gain access, I'm just checking, do I have show IP interface route, show IP interface brief. Okay, show IP route. I'm checking the routing table as well. I have a route for 10.1.0.0. Because of that, I should be having access to router 1. Let me also add a route for IP route 172.16.1.0, 255.255.255.0, 1.1.1.2. This is the IP address to which I would like to route the traffic. Same way, I'm also planning to check, do we have a route to reach back 1.1. network on this or not? I don't, I have it, right? Can you see this one? To reach 1.1.1.0, my next stop address is going to be 172.16.1.1, fast Ethernet 0/0. So from here, if I do telnet 1.1.1.1, do I have access to this or not? Anyway, if you see that the security level based 50 to 0 supposed to be allowed, but according to my rule, that rule is gone. But see here, any telnet is permitted. Am I right? So global rule, when there is no rules associated, or even if you have rules associated to a specific interface, right? But no rule is matching against the received traffic, only then global section comes into picture. Anyway, now I'm just explaining something else. Check it out. I'm able to log in. Don't think that this is because of the global rule. Sorry, this user 1, user 1. Okay. So I'm able to log in. You can see that the IP address from where the login happened is 172.16.1.2 probably. You can see that 172.16.1.2. Now, according to our condition, if I do telnet from my external router, telnet 172.16.1.2, do I have access to, can I see the telnet access? Will it be successful? Anyone? You wouldn't be. Why? You may claim that you have the rule, but you remember that we have been discussing about the operating systems on Cisco ASA. There will be two operating systems. One is CLI based, one is for CLI, the other one is for GUI. CLI, when you're typing certain, you remember that? When you are doing the configurations using the command line interface, you are doing the configurations directly on the running configuration. When you do it on the GUI, basically the changes are done on a temporary place. Now all I have to do is, if I have to apply these changes, then I have to say apply. When I do this apply, you can see the configurations are pushed, and then if I try to do telnet, I'll be able to do it. So keep in mind, while you are doing the configurations on your GUI, make sure that apply button is pressed. Only then the changes would take effect. Whereas when you are working with the CLI, because you are doing the changes directly on the running configuration, you can see the effect immediately. Okay, my point is now, there is no rules associated to, what is it called, from DMZ to outside. Because of that, still the telnet is going on, because we have a global rule which is permitting internet access. Which is permitting telnet access. Now my question is, I don't have any rules associated with the DMZ interface. If I try to do telnet to the port number 80, let me wait. Let's go to the router 2. 1.1.1.1 port 80. Can I see the connection established? See, connection is refused. Why? Because now there is a global rule. Hello? Who's that? Okay. So because I have a global rule, I lost the significance of security level based traffic filtering. Is this clear as of now? Don't worry, I'll explain you certain more things in tomorrow's session. If you are clear on this, I can stop here. I can make you to work. Any clarity required on this? Understanding the relationship between the access rules and the security levels. That's the discussion we are having it now.